Hi folks, and welcome back to another episode of InstructorNeal. My name is Scott Neal, and today I really want to take a break from some of our usual conversations to talk about a topic that has really been circulating in some of our more recent security classes, and that deals with Keystroke Dynamics. Now, for the standard computer user, and certainly for some of us IT professionals out there, when we think about authentication to resources, whether they're network resources or devices as a whole, we tend to gravitate towards terms like passwords or smart cards or even fingerprint scans. However, Keystroke Dynamics does represent a new evolution in authentication technologies, and I really wanted to take the opportunity today to break that down a little bit and give you an overview of what it is. So we'll start off talking about some of the shortcomings to traditional authentication techniques before I give you an overview of what Keystroke Dynamics is. While we're looking at Keystroke Dynamics, I will certainly give you a brief discussion about how it works. We'll talk about some of the potential benefits, and of course we'll summarize before we're done today. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, for years we have defined user authentication methods as fitting into one of three categories: what you know, what you have, and of course what you are. However, with Keystroke User Dynamics authentication quickly becoming one of the top contenders for the next generation of authentication tools to hit the marketplace, many instructors, including myself, have had to add a new category to our repertoire, and that is what you do. So the shortcomings, of course, for more traditional authentication methods are well known. When you look at passwords or challenge questions, they are easily forgotten, and thanks to the improvement in technology, they can often be compromised with dizzying speeds, particularly with the recent enhancements of hacking tools and increased CPU throughputs. Last but not least, when it comes to passwords and challenge phrases, they are certainly susceptible to social engineering attacks. If you go to perhaps a phishing scam, when you get an email that says go to your bank account website and you put in your credentials, not realizing that site is spoofed, it's a fake site. Next thing you know, you have given up those credentials to someone else that can take advantage of that opportunity. And of course, what you know, the category of what you know, is certainly probably the most susceptible to social engineering attacks. Smart cards, cell phones, and other what you have technologies can easily be lost or stolen, and they often rely on outdated protocols for authentication. Biometric solutions such as fingerprint readers, voice authentication, and even iris recognition may seem like an obvious solution. And indeed, recent advancements in these areas has significantly reduced false reading percentages. However, implementing biometrics usually means introducing some sort of new and potentially expensive hardware. So it's important to note that as new cybersecurity threats emerge, science is going to be looking towards new and improved ways to validate users to digital resources using less intrusive and more convenient methods. Enter Keystroke Dynamics. Keystroke Dynamics represents a newer field of biometrics. We refer to it as the behavioral biometric. With Keystroke Dynamics, specialized software attempts to identify the user by analyzing one's habitual typing patterns. The concept of Keystroke Dynamics really can be traced back in its crudest form to the 19th century. When we look at telegraph operators who could determine who was on duty at the other end of the line solely based on their typing style. And when it comes to testing for early Keystroke Dynamics algorithms, that began in earnest way back in the 1970s using 62 subjects, which yielded very positive results, showing a 92% identification rate. On the surface, implementing Keystroke Dynamics appears quite simple. First, the user submits a typing sample as a biometric template. Data may be obtained by capturing the keystroke's digital inputs or by analyzing keystroke sound through a microphone. Once the string of data is analyzed, it's going to be scored and used to compare against future sessions. If the score falls within the accepted range, then the user is going to be verified and authenticated to the resource. If the subject's typing style falls outside of the acceptable range for any reason, then the user will no longer be authenticated to the resource, and some sort of protective action can be initiated, such as locking them out of the resource or notifying an administrator. The complexities really become more evident, however, when you examine the components used to analyze individual typing patterns. Regardless of which approach is used to analyze the sample, more often than not, the biometric template is analyzing using two predominant characteristics. The first, flight time, represents the amount of time it takes for the user to release the previous key and to press the next one. Dwell time, on the other hand, simply represents the amount of time a user depresses a single key. These two metrics combined help with the analyzing and scoring of individual typing patterns. Many different algorithmic approaches to keystroke typing have been utilized over the years. Algorithms must consider not only the user's physiological patterns, but also must account for variations caused by variable factors such as differing hardware, stress levels, mood swings, injuries, and even the degree of alertness of the user. Algorithms may be offset by some of this instability by applying more weight to frequently used word sets and character strings, which show higher consistency rates. And utilizing today's algorithmic approaches, it's not uncommon to see false rejection rates only around 3% and false acceptance rates as low as 0.01%. It's also been suggested that by combining two or more algorithms, we can yield even better results in the future. Issues aside, Keystroke Dynamics does offer real advantages over traditional biometric authentication techniques. For starters, Keyboard Dynamics offers the hope of improved accuracy. Today's approaches using Keystroke Dynamics are showing accuracy rates equal to or better than other biometric options, including fingerprint scanning. Also, since Keystroke Dynamics only verifies the user's identity without the use of some sort of secret key or password, the use of Keystroke Dynamics is highly resistant to counterfeiting. Another potential benefit is higher level of user acceptance. Since the user is not required to utilize a special device or periodically alter their workflow to perform some sort of intrusive action, such as a retina scan or a complex enrollment process to authenticate or even remain authenticated to the resource. Likewise, since no additional hardware is utilized, the rollout costs associated with implementing Keystroke Dynamics authentication is significantly lower than many other biometric authentication methods, further enhancing its attractiveness. The ability to continuously authenticate is probably one of the most enticing aspects of Keystroke Dynamics. Other authentication techniques only offer a one-time authentication process. Once the user has successfully authenticated, the user usually stays authenticated to a resource until some sort of predefined event occurs, like a lockout screen. Re-authentication then requires the user to interrupt their workflow, put in a keystroke or a password to continue with using the resource. However, with Keystroke Dynamics, the user is never interrupted, and his typing metrics are going to be continuously compared and monitored silently in the background. So, summarizing, Keystroke Dynamics certainly has seen several evolutions over the last few decades as scholars and scientists wrestle with new and better equipped algorithms that can reliably express a user's true keystroking style. Today's keystroking biometric strategies are yielding results comparable to more mainstream biometric technologies in the workplace, with promises of continued improvement. This will soon pave the way for users to begin to take real advantage of the improved security benefits and conveniences that dynamic keystroke biometrics has to offer. So that's all I have for you today. I look forward to seeing you next time on InstructorNeal.